Monsanto is a company feared and reviled by the public in equal measure. But whatever cases Monsanto has lost in the court of public opinion, it is made up for in the courts of justice, thanks to a revolving door with the upper reaches of Washington. Now, a new movement is seeking to galvanize grassroots resistance to the corporation and derail its agenda. This is the GRTV Backgrounder on Global Research TV. In any honest ranking of the world's most hated corporations, Monsanto is almost certain to find itself at the top of the list. Indeed, it's difficult to think of a company that has affected the lives of so many around the world, either directly through its coercive and litigious practices against small farmers the world over, or indirectly through the pollution of the food supply with their genetically modified crops. And despite what corporate apologists and paid shills would have the public believe, the company's abominable reputation is not based on knee-jerk anti-corporatism, but the documented record of Monsanto's own history and actions. Many are familiar with the company's sordid past, including its role in the development of Agent Orange and its contribution to the epidemic of farmer suicides in India. But in recent years, Monsanto has gained special notoriety for its pushing of the envelope of patent laws in a self-admitted attempt to gain a monopoly over the world's food supply.
And now to a legal case watched for its impact on agriculture and new technologies, as the Supreme Court today unanimously found a soybean farmer had violated a patent held by agri-giant Monsanto. The decision came 3 months after an Indiana farmer, Vernon Hugh Bowman, had his day before the High Court. He ran afoul of Monsanto's policy barring farmers from saving or reusing its expensive Roundup-ready soybean seeds from one year to the next. Seen here in promotional videos, the genetically modified plants are designed to survive being sprayed with Monsanto's herbicide, Roundup. The seeds are patent protected, and the company requires that farmers buy a new batch with each season. Instead, over 8 years, Bowman used grain from an elevator that was sold for animal feed and not as seed. He claimed that was not a violation.
I just looked at it that when they dumped it in there, that they had abandoned their patent.
Today, the court rejected that argument with a unanimous decision in favor of Monsanto.
Monsanto's technology contract virtually turns the farmer into an accomplice of the agrochemical industry. He has to buy new seed every year with the technology surcharged, and only then is he allowed to cultivate the seed. The natural right of every farmer to replant his harvest seeds is waived by contract.
I have a contract here from Monsanto, and I'll just give you some of the clauses in that contract. A farmer must always buy his seeds from Monsanto. He must only buy the chemicals from Monsanto. He can never use his seeds. He must pay Monsanto about $40 a license fee on each hectare he owns each year. He must permit Monsanto's police force to come on his land for 3 years after the contract, even though he may only grow GMOs 1 year. And Monsanto's police can go in your granaries, they can go in your fields, they can get your tax records, your farming records, with or without your permission. And if a farmer commits some violation of the contract, Monsanto can take all his profit, or Monsanto can make him destroy his crop, and a farmer is not allowed to say anything to anybody about it.
We are on record for the deposition of Maurice Parr in the matter of Monsanto Company and Monsanto Technology versus Maurice Parr.
Mr. Parr, we subpoenaed your bank records in this case. Do you know that?
I'll tell you what really scared me the most today was the fact that they have every check that I have written from every bank account that I've used in the last 10 years.
The company's remarkable record in court has helped it set worrying precedents in the field of patent law, not just in the United States, but in numerous districts around the world. Some might attribute the company's success to blind luck, or to the vast resources it has available to prosecute its cases against cash-strapped farmers, but the real secret to Monsanto's court victories is to be found in the infamous Monsanto/government revolving door. The list of Monsanto employees and consultants who have also held key roles in the U.S. government is truly staggering. It includes such names as Linda Fisher, a senior EPA official who later became Monsanto's VP of Government and Public Affairs, Michael Taylor, Obama's deputy FDA commissioner, who also served as Monsanto's VP for Public Policy, U.S. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, who served as a corporate lawyer for Monsanto in the 1970s, and literally dozens of other examples. These judicial successes culminated in recent weeks in what may be the company's largest victory to date: the passage of the so-called Monsanto Protection Act, which stacks the deck even further in the company's favor.
The recent spending bill, which threatened a government shutdown, was signed into law last week, easing the minds of many Washington politicians. But lesser known as Section 735 of the bill, officially titled the Pharma Assurance Provision, but since nicknamed the Monsanto Rider or the Monsanto Protection Act. The provision protects large biotechnology companies like Monsanto from being taken to federal court should a genetically modified organism be discovered as being harmful to the consumer. Some congresspeople argue that the provision was a necessary concession in order to pass the spending bill to prevent a total shutdown of the federal government.
For a company so universally reviled, there has been remarkably little coordination of grassroots resistance to Monsanto and its agenda. Protest has been haphazard and, while occasionally symbolically effective, has done little to derail the Monsanto freight train from its path of worldwide domination of the food supply. Later this month, however, a new grassroots movement seeking to galvanize resistance to the multinational will stage an unprecedented worldwide protest rally against the company, coordinating marches in hundreds of cities involving tens of thousands of people all across the globe. Earlier this month, I had the chance to interview Tammy Canal, the organizer and founder of the March Against Monsanto, about the movement and what it is seeking to accomplish. Tell us a little bit about how the idea for this event came together and how you've managed to start coordinating this.
You know, it was very organic. I think with the signing of the Monsanto Protection Act, which happened about 3 weeks after we had started the page, I think that people were so angry that, you know, we were basically violated by the elected officials that are in office to protect us. And I think that anger just really, you know, needed to be focused on something. And I think that's why the page grew so quick.
For those out there who don't know about the Monsanto Protection Act, why don't you tell them about that piece of legislation?
Well, in a nutshell, basically it bans any court from halting the sale of Monsanto's GMO seed. And just, you know, in case anybody ever, you know, scientifically proved in the United States, which probably won't happen, but if they found them to cause harm, Monsanto won't be held accountable. They've been basically granted judicial immunity, which to me in this country is unacceptable. Everyone needs to be held accountable for their actions.
They certainly do, and unfortunately this isn't particularly surprising given the revolving door that takes place at the top of the U.S. Food and Drug Administration and other regulatory agencies and Monsanto itself. Let's talk a little bit about Monsanto's background and some of the practices that it's involved in that make it worthy of being marched against.
Right. Monsanto has a long history of basically crimes against humanity dating back to the Vietnam War when they had developed Agent Orange. And I'm pretty sure everybody's familiar with, you know, the horrors that spawned from that. They're also responsible for DDT, PCBs, the bovine growth hormone that's found in milk, aspartame, Roundup, which, you know, as we all know, is sprayed on the GMO crops that are being fed to us, which is kind of like a double whammy. So they have a long history of being pretty unkind to mankind.
Yes, that's a pretty good way of putting it. So let's talk about the rallies that are taking place right now. As I indicated, it's taking place on 6 continents, over 36 countries, tens of thousands of activists. Tell us a little bit about the scope of what's going to be taking place on May 25th.
Sure. It's actually 41 countries now. It's growing by the minute. Basically, we're just advocating a very peaceful protest. We're trying to raise public awareness because we think that is absolutely the key in stopping Monsanto. Once people are informed of what is basically, you know, their hard-earned money is being spent on to feed their children, I really think it's going to be a wake-up call when people realize that, you know, things like Kellogg's that have been found, like Fruit Loops, have been found to be 100% genetically modified. And that's, something that's marketed at children and not labeled, and that's just unacceptable. So we're hoping by raising public awareness, we'll, get enough people to stop supporting these companies that irresponsibly put out a product that they know will cause harm. And, ultimately, I'm going for a ban. There's over 60 countries in this world that have an outright ban against Monsanto and their GMO crop, and I don't understand why, we don't here in the U.S.
The march against Monsanto is necessarily only the first link in a potential chain of protest and action that could help to galvanize grassroots resistance to the Monsanto juggernaut and encourage people around the world to participate in a boycott of the company and the products derived from its seeds. Like any chain, it will take time and patience to forge, and it will be created link by link as more and more people are educated about the dangers of Monsanto, its seed patents, and the seeds themselves. Ultimately, what becomes of such a movement depends on the grassroots itself. Either it will recommit itself to the fight against the company and its practices, or it will opt to maintain the status quo, hoping that some government officials not bought off or in the employ of the company directly will somehow pass some piece of legislation that will make everything better again. Whatever the outcome, it cannot be denied that the struggle itself is of paramount importance. If there is any truth to the age-old dictum that you are what you eat, then the population of the world is slowly turning into Monsanto. Given the chilling nature of that thought, can there be any doubt as to why the public needs to engage in this fight? For more on this story and other breaking news and current events, please go to globalresearch.ca. For more research and analysis by James Corbett, please go to corbettreport.com.